So here we are outside, and this is the bottom end of the pipe as it is left for the winter. So it has this this cap on here, which may be hand tightened or wrench tightened. That's just coming off by hand. You can also use a pipe wrench to remove things like this if they're too tight. So unscrew the whole piece like this. Don't bother trying to take that plug out. The whole thing comes off. And I'm just going to clean now some of this Teflon tape off of here so that we can put on fresh Teflon tape and have it make a nice seal. Part of having a pump that doesn't lose its prime, I think one of the key reasons that pumps lose their prime is that the foot valve leaks. And if the foot valve leaks, then even the best pump has a hard time holding the water column. If you see the handle of the pump rising as it sits around, that's a sign that something is leaking in the bottom end of the system. The water is dropping out and causing the handle to rise by making suction in the pipe. It's the suction side of the pump system, that being this, this pipe all the way up to where the pump is very, very sensitive to leakage. And once it comes out of the water, it's actually under vacuum the whole time. And so it's really any kind of a leak in that part of the pipe is going to cause lots of trouble in operating the pump. So it's good to make sure that you have no joins in the pipe between the end of the pipe here and where it attaches to the pump. That's really just asking for trouble if you've got joints there. And I just realized I forgot to talk about putting on this tape. So we're going to put some new tape on the end of this pipe. You want to go clockwise around the pipe from the sense of looking at the open end. If you're looking at the open end, you want to go clockwise around the pipe with your tape. And the reason for that is that it means that as you screw that piece on, you're not going to have a tendency to peel the tape off the pipe. It will tend to tighten up and go into the threads as opposed to being ripped off and turning into a little ball. So this is the cheap Teflon tape. It takes 3 or 4 thicknesses of that to really do a good job. If you happen to have the more expensive Teflon tape, usually pink in color, once or twice around is enough. It's much thicker. So there I've got a nice coating of Teflon tape on there. The next thing then that I'm going to do is I'm going to put my foot valve on. The foot valve is usually just sitting on the workbench for the winter. Clean the spider webs out. The way the foot valve works, it's got a little screen on here for the intake. There's a spring underneath there, and in the bottom here there's a little valve, and I can actually pull that valve up against the spring and hear it snap back down again against the seat. Having that be properly working is key to the pump not losing its prime. And so this is just going to screw on here now. This one's a plastic one, which is nice. It screws on really smoothly, and I'm just going to give it a slight extra tightening with the pipe wrench here. Maybe a half a turn or so, something like that. If you over tighten this, it will probably break the plastic here. These pipe threads are tapered threads, so that the more you screw something on, the tighter they get. and it causes expansion of whatever you're putting on. So especially with plastic fittings, they will crack if they're over tightened. This bit here with the hose clamps, if you ever have to take this apart to replace the pipe or something, 2 hose clamps, again, it's really tough to get a good seal here, but this is really important. Two hose clamps rather than 1 are a good way to go, and warm up the pipe to sort of, a little bit, warmer than room temperature for sure, so that it feels maybe uncomfortably hot to touch, but not so much that it would burn you. And once the pipe is softened like that, I do it very gently with a torch, gently and slowly heat the pipe until it's scalding hot, and then you can shove the fitting in and then tighten the clamps. And with the pipe in that warm state, everything bites together pretty nicely. It's really hard to do it cold and have it work out. Also, if you have to disassemble it, it's hard to do it cold. The barbs on the end of this piece have sunk into the plastic. Over here we have a little hook that is just going to hook onto our rope for the underwater part. So here's the anchor, and it's just this red cast iron anchor covered in rust. Got some rust on my shorts from it. And then a little float, and there's a bit of a length of rope between the anchor and the float, and then we attach our pipe here right along with the float. So the idea is that the pipe will be lifted off the bottom of the lake by that little distance between the float and the anchor, so that it'll be near the bottom, but it will get fairly clean water. So I'm just going to go and clip the clip on the pipe into this rope loop here. So my pipe is clipped into the rope at the same point where the float is clipped into it, and then there's the length of rope going down and the anchor below that. And so now I'm simply going to throw the whole thing into the water, and it can take sometimes more than 1 try to kind of get it right. Now I can see the anchor is kind of sitting on a shelf of rock down there. The pump is, or the hose is probably 1 meter or so underwater. If I wanted to, I could throw that out again and get it a little bit deeper. The float right now is just kind of below the surface. So I'm going to pull it in and see if I can get it off that ledge and a little bit deeper. Wouldn't be the end of the world if it was ended up where it was. That looks a little better. This time the float now is probably a ½ meter or more underwater, and so the pipe is maybe 2 meters under, I would guess, something like that. And now I'm just going to take my my rope and bring it up the hill, tie it around a tree so it doesn't get blown away and gone back into the lake. And then when it comes time to fish it out, of course we can just pull the rope. Here's a shot looking at the water. I can see the float is probably maybe only ½ meter or so below, and the pump, the hose beyond that. Looks like it could go further out if we wanted it deeper. I could pull it out from the boat or the canoe if I really wanted to get it further out, but this will be okay for now. Here we are in the tool room. The Teflon tape was just located up here in this box called plumbing in the sliding cupboard. There's the anchor, or the cap for the pipe. The pipe wrench was down here in the drawer.